Hello everybody, this is Aldin, the owner of BHX. I wanted to send a quick video and provide an update on the expedite industry and obviously how it's affecting our drivers. I am starting to feel a bit like a parrot when it comes to this. I feel like every couple of weeks I make a video or when I speak with drivers, as our entire staff actually is kind of going through the same thing. We are repeating the same thing, which is there's fewer loads available, which makes the prices go down. And in order to stay busy and keep moving, we have to adapt to the new norms until times get better. But let me go into it kind of in a bit more depth and kind of walk you guys through this. So less loads, lower prices, that's the bad news. The good news is there are still enough loads available to keep our drivers moving, to keep our drivers generating the type of money that you want to generate. We just have to adapt our strategies and our tactics to match the new norm. So about your earnings, you can still earn 2,000 to 3,000 on average per week. You just might have to drive a few more miles to do it. So before, the average load pay was about $1.10 per mile. And right now, what we're seeing is the average load pay is about 90 to $1 per mile. When I say average, that is a blended average, means part of that is the 70 cents a mile loads, and part of it is the $1.30 per mile loads. Really, to break it down further for USA, the average we see is between 70 cents and 90 cents per mile. Even good areas like Illinois, Michigan, the average load is going for about 90 cents a mile. And loads to and from Canada continue to be the premium loads that are really saving a lot of our drivers, as those are paying $1.20, $1.30 per mile. So by being flexible, driving more miles, you can still generate the type of money that you need to generate. It's all about adjusting to the changes and finding the right balance between rate per mile and the number of miles you drive. But by doing so, you can continue to earn good income despite the current market conditions. The fact is, the market goes up and down. Those that have been in it for a long time can attest to that. This is nothing new. That the market, sometimes is better and sometimes is worse. And generally speaking, the people that are able to make it through those ups and downs are people that are flexible and that are able to roll with the punches, as they say. So when the prices get better, then we charge more and you get paid more. And when the prices around the industry drop, we either adjust and lower our bids, or you sit 2, 3 days in between loads, waiting for that one lucky load that'll pay you the ideal rate. So there's a couple things. BHX is considered a premium carrier in the industry by all of our customers. Our customers know that BHX has been in business for more than 10 years, that we are 24/7. They can call anytime, day or night, and somebody will answer the phone, which a lot of our competitors, they don't offer that same luxury. They know that BHX doesn't play any unethical games with double brokering their loads or loading multiple shipments at the same time and things like that. They know that our drivers are professional. They know that our drivers are held to a high standard with regards to on-time performance and safety. They know that our dispatchers are well trained and professional and great at customer service. They love our app. They love that they can track the vehicles. They love that they can get these easy to access updates. They love how easy it is to book us. So all of those things make us what I call a premium carrier. And being a premium carrier, we are able to charge more and get more money for loads than a lot of our competition. Realistically speaking, we are often competing with companies that are bidding 70 and 80 cents a mile, even out of good areas. But because those companies are smaller companies that are unproven or otherwise proven to be bad, we are able to charge that 80 to 90 to $1, and customers are willing to pay us an extra 100 or 50 or $150 because they get a peace of mind, the peace of mind with us, and they know they're going to get better service. So really, I want to talk about a couple different things that we can do in this market to help us navigate through it and make the most of it. From our side, one thing we're doing is continuing to seek new ways and avenues that we can showcase to our customers why they should choose BHX and why they should pay a premium price for BHX. So we're providing additional coaching, training, and development to our whole dispatch staff. This is going to make them better equipped to deal with our customers on a high professional level to help project that image of professionalism, and it's going to help them better be able to assist you, our drivers, in resolving problems when you're stuck, when needing a pickup number and things like that. Um, the training will also include additional feedback and us sharing the data we have about different areas. So they'll have better knowledge to know which areas are good for loads and which areas are not as good for loads and how much to charge and things like that. This is something that really requires constant training and retraining and feedback so that we were all on the same page and we are all following, let's say, the same philosophy when it comes to the quality of areas, the quality of loads, just to make sure that we are continuing to book the best loads at the best rates for you guys. Number two is, again, strengthening and protecting that reputation as a premium carrier. Um, the things that are most important, number one most important thing for a broker, for a customer when they're choosing who to give a load to, is past performance and customer service of that company. Customer service encompasses communication as well. So past performance means on past loads, were we late? Did we have good communication? Were we on time? And the other stuff that we offer, the fact that we've been in business for a long time, the fact that all of our vehicles have our logos on them and our drivers are well trained and professional, all of that stuff is what I would say icing on the cake. The number one thing the customers look at is on-time performance, price, and then customer service skills. So we have to, as a team, continue to protect and strengthen that reputation as a premium carrier. I've spoken with drivers who said things like, I really don't care about BHX or the driver. I'm just, I care about myself and that's it. And when you're part of BHX, and for you to say that, it really doesn't make sense because the reputation of BHX is what gets you the loads that you get, right? So when we submit a bid for a driver named Mike, we don't submit a bid as Mike, we submit a bid as BHX. So for that reason, our dispatch team and our drivers and everybody that's part of BHX has to understand that the reputation of BHX impacts us all equally. And for you, the drivers, the reputation of BHX impacts your earnings directly 100%. If we do something to lose a big customer, that means that we will not get loads from that customer. That means our drivers will not get loads from that customer, and they might have to do loads for other customers of ours that don't pay as much, right? So that's number two. We have to continue to sharpen our tools in that sense, for you guys to communicate if you're going to be late for pickup or delivery, to do your best to make the appointment times, safely and securely. And number three, the one that we've been repeating over and over and over, is adjusting the rates to be more competitive. When the industry gets tough, companies drop their rates. This means customers post loads. They get many offers for 70 or 80 cents a mile, even from the good areas like Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, and so on. As I mentioned, as a premium carrier, we don't have to drop that low. the customers are willing to pay 50 or 100 or 150 more to BHX to do the load. But if, for example, say 1,000-mile load, if there's a bunch of carriers offering to do it for 700 and we're asking for 1,000, the customer will typically not pay us $300 more than they have another option. You know, if you think about that, if they do that 2-3 times a day, they're possibly losing out on 1,000 or 2,000 bucks easily. So for that reason, you know, the customer is willing to pay maybe 85 or 90 or 95 cents a mile in some cases when they have, you know, options that are 10 or 15 cents less than that. And really, you know, what I would say for you as the driver, sometimes people get stuck on the rate per mile and they don't really think about what that translates to. The difference between a 1,000-mile load that pays 90 cents and a 1,000-mile load that pays $1 a mile is really making the difference is making 900 or making $1,000 on it. Obviously, we would all prefer to make 1,000 over 900, but right now in this market, the reality is it's either making 900 or not making anything on that load, right? So what I would say in that sense is the drivers who choose to stay on green, meaning their dispatch settings have a lot of green states where we're, you know, booking at the best price we think we can get. Understand the price may not always be what you hope it is. The price may not always be what you would love for it to be, but our prices are based on thousands of bids we've placed. Our prices are based on data that shows us, for example, Ohio to Texas. We look at 1,000 bids we place and we look at the price we're bidding and we see what price we are actually getting, and then we adjust our prices accordingly, right? So the drivers who are choosing to stay on green, adjust your expectations and understand that loads that you were maybe getting for $1 per mile, now you may get them for 80 or 90 cents per mile. You know, my promise to you is that we will continue to evaluate these prices. We will continue to make sure we are bidding as high as we can humanly bid and still have a chance to win the load. And when the times get better, we will adjust the prices to make sure you're getting those higher rates. But really, the biggest waste of time and the biggest mistake we can make is submitting prices that are not realistic in this market. And I'm going to show you something. I'm going to share my screen and show you something in a minute that I just looked at, and it was really eye-opening to me as well. Next thing, number 4, is I encourage everybody to look through their dispatch settings and open things up a bit. Essentially, what I'm saying is if there's areas where you don't love going to, maybe the West Coast, maybe Texas, maybe whatever it is for you, you know, consider opening that up until times get a bit better. Those drivers that only have a handful of states that they like to go to, you've probably noticed it's harder and harder to get, you know, stay in those states and still stay busy unless we just, you know, bid 70 cents a mile on every single load. So other thing is drivers who can go to Canada are now making, you know, $1 to $1.30 a mile, or maybe even more sometimes. So everybody who can go to Canada, I strongly encourage you to do so. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is a comparison for trucks. So this is for semis. This is not for Sprinter vans, but it's the same industry. Really, what happens with trucking very closely follows and impacts the Sprinter van world as well. What I want to show you a couple things. Okay, so let's look at the last column. That's really the one that is most eye-opening, I would say. Really last 2 columns we can focus on. So let's start with the year column. So this is comparing April of 2023 to April of 2022, okay? And over here, spot load posts. This is the amount of loads that are being posted on load boards where brokers are trying to cover the loads, okay? So if we scroll over, there's 65% less loads posted. So essentially, the way you can understand that is if there were 100 loads posted, let's say, or 1,000 loads a day in April of 2022, and then in April of 2023, there's only 350 loads posted, right? So it's a humongous drop, reduction in loads. Less loads being posted, as we keep saying, means prices go down, right? The third row is van load to truck. So this is how many loads are posted for how many trucks there are. And there's 44% less loads there, right? So there's 44% less loads for the available trucks than there was last year. It's probably because some trucks maybe exited the industry in the meantime. But really the one that's even more eye-opening is this one here, which is the van spot rates. So this is the rates for these brokered loads, which is a lot of the loads that we do. The average from April of 22 to April of 23, the prices dropped by 25% or almost 26%. So for example, that means like for us, the average is let's say $1.10 per mile, and if the price has dropped by 25%, if the average rate for us with Sprinter vans, let's say, was $1.10, and if it drops by 25%, that means the new rate would be 82, 83 cents a mile, right? For trucks, these loads usually the average rates that they see is $2 to $3 a mile, and that means that possibly they drop by 50 cents a mile or 75 cents a mile. For trucks, this means that loads that were paying $1,000 are now paying $750. And really, like I said, we're seeing a very, very similar trend within the Sprinter van industry. BHX is trying to keep our prices as high as we can. We're trying to keep our prices at about 15% less than they were before. So if we were, charging $1, we want to be at between 85 to 90 cents per mile. And this is data from dat.com. You can go there, and then at the top of the page, you'll see resources, and then you'll see this see weekly snapshot or industry trends. We're really shifting our focus more and more on just prioritizing keeping our guys moving, being as flexible as we need to be with our customers while continuing to sell the premium carrier benefits to them. And essentially, to kind of explain the behind the scenes, we submit a bid for, let's say, $1,000 for 1,000 miles. And we call the customer and they say, well, we have a $700 bid. So instead of saying, okay, we can do 700 as well, what our team is being trained to do and what our team does is we say, listen, we would love to do 700, but it's a little bit too low for our driver. We can do 850, meet us in the middle with BHX. I can guarantee you'll get the best service possible. Our driver will be on time. He'll provide great communication from start to finish. Our office is staffed 24/7. We'll follow the load from start to finish to make sure there's no delays. If there are any problems or delays, you'll get the best communication. You'll get clear and concise and quick communication. And we think that it's worth perhaps you paying an extra 100 or 150 to book BHX and get these benefits. And sometimes that works and the customer does agree to pay us $850, and sometimes it doesn't and they say, listen, that's all fine, but I need the cheapest price, otherwise my customer's not going to give me the load. And then we have to either lower to 700 or we have to pass up on it. Now, this is where, not to defend our dispatchers, but this is where sometimes they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, as the saying goes, where if they decide to book the load, sometimes the driver's not very happy with it and says, well, why did you book this? You shouldn't have gotten this from me, and so on. And if they don't book the load, then the driver at the end of the day says, well, why am I still waiting? Why haven't I been booked? You guys should have found me a load for now. And I understand, and we all understand really what the drivers are going through. Fuel is not cheap. There's expenses, and prices have dropped by 25% based on what they were. What I would say is us continuing to bid on realistic rates is a lose-lose situation. You're not going to be making any money, and you're going to be sitting at a truck stop for 2-3 days at a time, not generating anything, not being able to pay your bills. We don't intend to, and we don't recommend, and going unnecessarily low or going down to compete with these super cheap rates. But we are going to have to continue to be flexible with regards to prices if we want to stay busy. Final message I would have for drivers is, if you want to stay in the industry through this time, understand the new norm and accept the new norm. Understand that right now loads across US are really paying between 70 to 90 cents a mile, and loads around Canada are still paying about $1 to $1.30, depending on the lane, depending on the scenario. If you're not okay with driving for 70 or 80 cents, then consider parking the vehicle, for a few months until things get better, and get a job that fits, fits your lifestyle and your lifestyle needs. Because staying in the industry while continuing to demand or expect $1 plus on every load is really not going to work. And I'm not saying this to say that we will refuse to book you. Far from that. We're unable to book you and keep you busy with those expectations. So you're going to be sitting, not making money, not happy. So if you do want to stay in the industry through this time, understand the rates are going to drop. And like I said, you have my promise that we're going to continue to explore, evaluate, look through our loads, and make sure that we are always bidding the right price. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to continue to drop always. Part of our reviewing our data is we're looking for examples of loads that we can get more money on. So, for example, and I've explained this before, but I'll say it again, our target win ratio is about 10 to 15% on average. What that means is, on average, if we submit 10 bids, we hope to win one or two of those. If we submit 100 bids, we hope to book about 10 to 15 loads. Now, really, this is a matter of the prices. The other things, of course, continue to play a role, the service and this and that. But essentially, if we notice that our win ratio is, let's say, right at 10% at 90 cents per mile, that means that while we bid 90 cents per mile, we are winning 1 out of every 10 bids. If we increase our rate, if we go to $1 a mile, we are probably going to drop down to about 5% of our bids, or maybe even less. So we know that we cannot increase the rate because our win ratio is already at a 10%. Let's say on the flip side, we look at some lane. Let's say, for example, we look at Georgia to Michigan. And let's say we notice that we're winning 25% of our bids at 70 cents per mile. So that means 25% of our bids means 1 out of every 4 bids we win. at 70 cents per mile. That would tell us that we're bidding too low and that we can increase the rate. And in that case, we do. As soon as we notice that trend, we increase the price from Georgia to Michigan to 75 cents a mile, and we look at the data again after a couple days. And now we notice that at 75 cents, we're winning maybe 18% of our bids. So we say, well, let's go up to 80 cents and let's see what happens. And then once we find that sweet spot, then we lock it in at that rate. What I can tell you is every single load, every single lane, the highest win ratio we have is about 12 or 13%. And in some instances, for example, loads out of Texas, our win ratio is less than 10%, even though our bids are extremely low. And we're continuing to evaluate that, and we're continuing to try to find that sweet spot without going super low. So we're doing everything we can on our side with establishing relationships with top customers, with protecting and strengthening our reputation as a premium carrier. Let's maintain open lines of communication. If you have any questions, concerns, or ideas for improvement, please reach out to dispatch or management. We're here to support each other navigate these challenging times together. Stay safe out there. Keep moving forward with optimism and resilience. This too shall pass.